welcome back to the channel. So Tesla, if you watch their investor day, they're going to get these cars even cheaper. They're just chipping away at us switching to electric vehicles. It's not going to happen overnight. Could be fast, could be slow, but Tesla will have a bit to play with it because they're getting incrementally cheaper as we go. And yeah, the price, I was thinking the price of lithium is high, but guess what Tesla's doing? They're going into refining lithium themselves. If it gets super high, they could go into mining it. They could go into mining whatever they need. They're just getting cheaper and cheaper and better. Apparently the new model doesn't use rare earths as well in their investor day. So most likely these vehicles will have natural graphite in them. Seems unlikely something will nip them off the post due to lithium-ion battery just being superior, already mass scaled. So very hard for any other battery to take over. Though I wouldn't say it won't, never say never. Just seems most likely the lithium-ion with natural graphite will be the battery for the next decade, if not more. And by then it'll be so cheap anyway that it'll be even super harder for anything. Super harder, I did say it, for anything to overtake it. So that's, if you look at this company, it's gone from here to here because they had a good project near a city, didn't have to spend much money to make a lot of money, and lithium here wasn't in huge demand. Then demand overtook supply, and that's why it's up here. So that was lithium, and graphite could be next. They think the shortfall for graphite will happen about 2025, 2026. Some say it's already happening now, but it's just going to get worse and worse from then. And yes, so this company here, rough figures, 64 million. Basically paid. They got 10 more million to pay off the mine. If you look at their, it's funny, this company was building the mine with not having all the money there. So I'm not sure how they did that, but it's building the mine, didn't have the money, and they raised it as they went. Funny, it's like building a house and getting loans as you go. But anyway, people saying, yeah, we'll give you the money for that, no problems. I didn't think it was going to be an issue, so it looks like people give them that last 10 million. Then you're left 70 million to buy the whole company. Comes with the $45 million mine, and they expect to make 50 to 60 million EBITDA. Then after tax, $25 million in the hand after costs for a company that's only 70 million. So roughly that seems very good to me. If they only make half that, they make $10 million, still seems good. And that's before any graphite shortfall. Bear in mind, these guys don't make graphite goes into the battery because they can get higher price for the graphite going into the other uses. You can look up the other uses yourself, but yeah, they get more money for the other uses of graphite. But the smaller flake stuff probably will get more expensive, so if it does, these guys could probably switch. All they have to do is mill down their stuff more. But anyway, seems good. And graphite getting taken from somewhere else will mean more demand for that graphite, etc. My uneducated opinion. So that's WKT. So basically, as I said, paid off the mine, building it now. They'll have finished it later this year. So maybe start making some money, and they'll be doing it for a year. Iron out of the kinks. So obviously they build it, something goes wrong, oh, we fix that, and they get good of it before everyone else gets to it. So they're probably in a pretty good spot now. We'll get in production later this year, and will really benefit from the shortfall in graphite that everyone's expecting. So that's them. They're pretty good. 70 million. Then we got ITM. So this one, I just had this thing. Tesla tells South Australia is in the future. Why? Because South Australia is already all on renewables. So much solar, batteries as well. Yeah, so South Australia, and guess who's in South Australia? This company here, who's roughly around $30 million with about 8 million cash, and they'll have a huge resource, multi-decade resource. So yeah. So devil's advocate, if you don't know, maybe someone else comes out with a better thing that doesn't need graphite, but it seems unlikely. Because solid state doesn't use graphite. Sodium ion doesn't use natural graphite. But sodium ion isn't probably the best for vehicles. More probably better for energy storage, but maybe they get the density better for sodium ion as well. Not really sure. RNUASX. So guess what? These guys are 500 million. They've raised like millions of dollars and drilled it more. So they're basically where I see ITM will go. They got to drill it out, raise the money. So if you didn't know, if you look at that 30 million to that, it doesn't mean you're going to make whatever X to get to this from 30 million, because the share price doesn't go, in this case it's what it did, but the share price doesn't X as much as the market cap, because they have to raise money, which dilutes the share price. Here's an example, GL1 ASX. Sorry, just a brief thing for this thing. So this company, I bought it $40 million, and it went to 300, which it was up at 400. It wasn't a 10x because the money they raised. So the market cap went up because they sold off a lot of the business. The share price did not. So take that into account. But anyway, rough figures for this ITM. They spend $100 million to build the mine, and they make that per year. And then they spend another $100 million in the processing to get the stuff from graphite to round spherical graphite, and maybe make $100 million from that as well. So roughly they spend $200 million, make that per year, given the graphite shortfall, and you can buy them for $30 million now. They do have to drill it out, get the metallurgy right as well. So they're pretty decent. ITM WKT, probably my most conviction ones. There is a lot of good ones as well. These guys pretty cheap. Same story. And all these graphite companies, they don't have to raise that 100 million. They can actually raise a smaller amount, do a small project, and when the demand comes, scale up. So these guys, similar story. They can spend 50 million and make that per year. I don't know. That's just a rough figure. Like, I'm just saying, these companies can spend whatever they do in the mine and pay it back probably in 1 or 2 years. Then we've got VRC. This one's came down a lot because they had a mine in Ukraine and the war really screwed them over. And so they do have a massive project in Tanzania as well for graphite. So they had a working mine making money, but obviously to the war they put it on hold. And then they got a big one in Africa where they spend 200 million and make $200 million a year EBITDA. Then after cost might be 100 million. So that's just rough figures. That's pretty rough figures for every graphite company. But you probably want to go with the one who will spend the least money to make the most money, or make the same amount, because they won't have to dilute the share price as much. So my side conviction, ITM, it's in South Australia. They should have a massive resource. They got this one here and this one over here, which should be like 50-year mine lives each, so no shortage of graphite. They did have rare earths. I just heard Tesla bring out a motor that doesn't use rare earths, so maybe you should sell up. And that is a risk for graphite too. Maybe someone cracks something that doesn't use natural graphite. Who knows? And another thing, natural graphite, the synthetic graphite. Natural graphite, the earth is heated up for years to make it. Synthetic graphite, they actually have to heat up for 2 weeks or whatever at 3,000 degrees. So it's very energy, uses a lot of energy. But natural graphite, the earth has done all this stuff for you. So that's why we're probably moving more towards natural graphite and away from synthetic graphite, which comes from a byproduct of petroleum coke. So we're moving away from petrol. So it's probably less of that synthetic stuff available. So that's why I moved to natural graphite. So this video is all over the place. I do know that. Don't really care. This is not an edited video. This is for my liking. I just like hearing my own voice, really. No, I'm just kidding, but I just make these videos and maybe learn one thing about them. Most people just watch a minute at the start and then comment. That's what I do when I watch someone else's video anyway. So that's it. Like Rainy Nord. We'll just go to this one and you can have a look at MLS itself. Is a pretty decent company. They got hydroelectricity, can spend 100 million and make that back per year. So a lot of these companies can do the same. Grade is semi-important, but more important than grade would probably be location. You don't want to be in the middle of nowhere and have to spend $400 million to make half that, when another company can spend 100 million to make that per year. So you don't want a high capex. because that means dilution of your share price, dilution of your return, etc. So a lot of companies on here. Grade size, you probably don't want to go any lower than 5 million tons grade in the ground, like graphite in the ground. Although these companies with 1 million tons, they can easily drill out more and find more just with spending more money on drilling. Take it right now, they don't want to spend money on drilling because they'll just be diluting the share price, and there's no demand for the graphite right now. So that's all I'll say. I pretty much think I know every single graphite company there is, but just let me know ones you like. Let's give me the rough figures on them. Actually, probably don't, because I probably already know them. And honorable mention, this company here, who's actually had some news about a graphene battery not long ago, and they went up like from there to there, and some news about a graphene battery, which probably might only happen. But anyway, these guys like $6 million, and they'll probably have 5 million tons in the ground when they drill it out with hydroelectricity. So quite a cheap stock that's actually got graphite in the ground. That's all I'll say. Thanks for watching if you're watching this far, and good night.